Alright, got all the pistons in, and I also went ahead and put the freeze plugs in, put the 3 oil gallery plugs up front, the pressing ones, the 3 thread in the back. We got that all taken care of. Now we're on to the rear main seal, which is this right here. There's a gasket for this housing. This is the rear main seal. So this gasket has to be in here or else this will not seal, and then it will spew oil right out the back of the oil pan and onto the flex plate and all kinds of good stuff when we go to start these up, or would have went to start these up. So, and these are all a little tough for the students. These back 2 bolts get broken, and so I only have 2 bolts for this instead of 4. Not really a huge deal, but I do have to wait until I get the oil pan on and get that tight before I can tighten up the bottom, or otherwise it will kind of tweak itself out and bend out. So not a huge deal on that. I do have to put a camshaft thrust plate on here. This is so that this camshaft cannot move back and forth. It's trying to get rid of the end play. A lot of the older engines, older V8s, Chevy V8s and GM V8s did not have that. This was something new that they started with, I believe their Vortec engines in 95. Maybe it was 95. Maybe it was 96. Maybe it was 96 they started doing the Vortex. So, gotta have that in there so it can't have a bunch of play going back and forth. So, next thing is lining up timing. These parts are all kinds of oily and slimy. This group did not have their, did not drain the oil filter down here. They drained it in an actual pan on the shelf. So it left kind of a disaster, and these parts just happen to be in the bottom of that pan, which isn't a bad thing. You'll also notice we're not doing a whole lot of cleaning at the moment either. Just kind of slamming some stuff together. We've got 11 of these engines to put together, and it takes time. It takes about 2 hours an engine to get this stuff put together. And that's from where most groups were at. This group was a little farther behind, so it's going to take a little bit extra time to get this engine done. Some of the engines we run into problems with, the rod, that's the biggest thing you guys would have struggled with in getting those together. I think so far out of 5 engines, Julie struggled with a couple on what she was working on. I helped her do that, and we knocked that out. Other than that, we really haven't had too many issues with rods and anything else slowing us down. It's been a pretty easy process. So obviously not getting crazy with the part, just snugging them up a little bit, calling it good. So chains on, that's all done. Next thing will be timing cover. Actually, to put the oil pump on, that. Oh, here's the oil pump. Goes on right down that hole, goes on there. Now we just need to find a bolt for it, which can be difficult. Found it. A lot of groups got a lot of good things labeled, and a lot of groups have some things labeled. So there's a couple things just in the cabinet there not labeled. Not a huge deal. I know what I'm looking for, so it's easy, easier anyways. But if you guys were doing it, it would definitely take you a little bit longer to do, just because you don't know what you're looking for. And that's not a big deal. Whether it's your first time or a couple times, or you haven't done it in a while, not a huge deal. One of the engines we were doing, I think I had the intake on, and I forgot to put the lifters in. So I just back off so I could do lifters and do the rods and all that stuff. I also put a timing set on the very first one I did. I think they're both on the first one. I put the timing set on and forgot the 3 plugs, the 3 oil galleries plugs behind it. So that engine would have had no oil pressure, and the oil would have just been shooting out and hitting this gear. And the oil pressure would have been, 10, 20 or lower or something like that. Wouldn't have been very much at all. So lots of unique things to kind of look out for as you're going through. Something I'm also going to do, if you want that, it'll be available on Moodle, and I'm going to take all of the lab tasks for the engines, not the nut and bolt stuff and everything we did in the beginning, the faster stuff, but for the engines, I'm going to take all of that, so it's unit 3 through 8, and compile that in one PDF and put it up on Moodle. I'll probably put it at the very end, behind unit 8. Nah, you know what, I might put it up at the top, but anyways, look for it there. It'll be a complete engine task, the complete engine lab task. That way you guys can print that off and have that or save that if you ever want the help of kind of going through the steps and going through the task of doing an engine on your own. Remember, I didn't put extra tasks or extra stuff for you guys to do on these engines. You know, it wasn't like, hey, do this. I wonder if I could get them to do it. You know, they were all necessary tasks, necessary steps for you to do to be able to get this engine together and to get it running well. You know, no leaks. That's what we look for. No engine leaks and it runs. So there's not extra tasks, there's not extra steps. If we test it a little bit, you know, we talked about that a little bit too. You know, don't skip the steps. You know, go through the process, go through the steps. Even if you're like, oh man, you know, this is dumb. I know what I'm doing. You know, go back through and just double check. So I gotta count how many bolts I need here. 9. Looks like 9. There's one broken off there. But I only seem to have 4 bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it on with 4 bolts, and then I'm gonna run and grab some other bolts to fill in the spots. A couple of them look a little funky. Like that one, I can go back on that one because that one's not threaded. It got broken off, somebody started to drill it out but didn't finish it. So we got 1, 2, 3. That one's kind of the same thing. It's a little jacked up. I can't put one in there. 1, 2, 3. This one looks okay. That'd be 4, maybe. That'd be 5. And those are both messed up. So I might be able to tap that one and get 6. I might actually do that. Go through and make sure I got enough bolts and make sure I can tap a couple of those out and actually get the right number before I get my RTV. Remember, RTV has about a 10 to 15 minute window to when you need to get the part on between when it starts to harden up with the presence of oxygen. So room temperature vulcanizing, right? RTV, it hardens up when it gets the presence of oxygen in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, clean up the holes, and then we'll get that timing cover put on.